Hi guys, welcome to Story by Deola. It's nice to have you here. Sit back or relax while listening to the story. You are gonna enjoy it. I promise. Brent and Brenda were twins born only minutes apart. When they were 3 years old, tragedy struck and they lost both of their parents. With no relatives willing to take them in, they grew up in an orphanage, holding tightly to each other because they had no one else. When they turned 8, everything changed. A wealthy couple came looking to adopt. They chose Brenda. Brent still remembered the day she left. Brenda cried and begged to stay with her brother, but the adoption papers had already been signed. Before she got into the car, she hugged him tightly. "No matter where life takes us, you'll always be my brother. I'll come back for you someday," she promised. Brent smiled through his tears and waved goodbye. Years passed. Brenda grew up in luxury, attending the best schools and living in a mansion. She never forgot her brother and visited whenever she could, but the visits became less frequent as life became busier. Brent, meanwhile, remained in the orphanage. Though he loved Brenda dearly, jealousy quietly grew inside him. He hated himself for it. He didn't blame her, but every night he wondered why nobody had chosen him. This is Channel Story by Deola. Then the voices started. "You're worthless. Nobody wanted you. You'll never be anything. Even your sister left you behind." At first he thought they were just thoughts, but they became louder over the years. They followed him everywhere, making him believe he was a failure before his life had even begun. By 16, Brent had become withdrawn and hopeless. One rainy evening, Brenda arrived unexpectedly. She found her brother sitting alone by a window, staring blankly into the storm. "Brent," she whispered. He looked up but forced a smile. "What are you doing here?" Brenda sat beside him. "I made a promise, remember." Brent laughed bitterly. "You kept your promise? Look at you, Brenda, you have everything, I have nothing." She shook her head. "No, Brent, I have parents who love me and a good home, yes. But every birthday, every Christmas, every achievement I wished you were there with me. I never stopped missing my brother." Brent's eyes filled with tears. "The voices say I'm a failure." Brenda held his hand. "Then they're lying." He looked at her in surprise. "Brent, being left behind wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, and your story isn't over. You're 16, not finished." For the first time in years, Brent cried, not because he was alone, but because he finally wasn't. Brenda revealed that she had been talking to her adoptive parents for years. They had wanted to adopt Brent too, but legal complications and lost records had made it impossible. Now, after years of persistence, they had finally received approval to become his guardians. Brent stared at her. "You mean I can come home?" Brenda smiled through her tears. "No, silly." She wrapped her arms around him. "You can come home with your sister." Months later, Brent moved in with Brenda and her parents. The voices didn't disappear overnight, but they grew quieter. With love, counseling, and people who believed in him, Brent began believing in himself too. He discovered a talent for writing and started sharing stories online. People connected with his words because they came from a place of pain, hope, and honesty. Years later, Brent published his first novel. At the book launch, he looked into the crowd and saw Brenda in the front row, crying and clapping the loudest. He smiled and remembered the voices that once told him he would never amount to anything. They had been wrong. Because sometimes, being forgotten by the world doesn't mean you're forgotten by the people who truly love you. And sometimes, the ending you wait for isn't the one where you become rich or famous. Sometimes the perfect ending is simply finding your way back home. The end. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share to you loved ones. And see you in the next story. Bye.